Hi, Holy Trinity. I'm Will Buteau, your minister of music, and I wanted to tell you about a really special service coming up. Next Friday, November 3rd, we celebrate All Souls at 7 p.m. Now, for those of you that might be new to Holy Trinity, at the beginning of November, we observe two important services in one weekend, All Souls and All Saints. At All Saints, we remember the great saints of the Church, and at All Souls, we commemorate all of the faithful departed, those people in our own lives that have died. All Souls, for a long time now, has been a big musical service for us, and in the past we've sung big requiems with orchestra from Fauré to Rudder to Mozart, etc. And in the most recent years, since the pandemic, we've explored some creative approaches to All Souls. Now this year, when Father Greg and I were planning All Souls, we agreed that it was time to let All Souls be All Souls. In other words, to allow the liturgy to speak for itself. On the music side, I was considering several beautiful settings of the Requiem Mass, and there are plenty of them. And after praying on a bit, I realized that to match the purity of the liturgy, why not choose a requiem that originates from a time when it would actually be sung in the context of worship, before the requiem became this performance piece with giant orchestration and big production values. This led me to the Requiem Mass of Tomás Luis de Victoria, one of the greatest sacred compositions of the Renaissance period. Now, if you've never heard of this piece, don't feel bad. It's just not being performed all the time, but trust me when I tell you, it's truly a masterpiece. The more I've studied it this year, the more I've learned about it, the more I've fallen in love with it, and so will you. Heart-wrenching harmonies, sensitive musical painting of the text, unexpected turns, it's a slice of heaven. The whole piece is based on the plain chant of the traditional Latin Mass for the dead, and those chants are running through the entire work, weaving it together. Let me tell you a little bit about the composer and the creation of this piece. Tomás Luis de Victoria, the great Spanish composer, published this version of his Requiem in 1605 in Madrid. He was an accomplished organist and a priest, and spent almost half his life actually in Rome studying for the priesthood and learning from the great Italian Renaissance masters of music. But his heart was in Spain, and he came back in 1587 at the request of King Philip II, and he was appointed chaplain to King Philip's sister, the Dowager Empress Maria, who was also the daughter of Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire. So, as you might have figured out, he did pretty well as a composer. He was supported by royalty, his music was very popular and being performed all over the place, even as far away as Mexico and Chile. Around the time of his composition, Victoria, you have to imagine, he's hanging out at a royal convent in Madrid, where the Empress Maria is living in retirement. He spends his time in daily mass, playing organ and composing. Then in 1603, Maria dies, and Victoria wrote this requiem for her funeral services. Victoria died not long after in 1611, and this requiem was the last piece that he ever composed. It was Victoria's last will and testament. He wrote a ton of incredible sacred choral music, and he always published his own works in collections, in volumes, except for one piece. It's this requiem, which was published all on its own. It remains as one of the finest and most unique works of Renaissance music, a final chapter in the Spanish Golden Age. Now from the BBC's documentary, God's Composer, Tomás Luis de Victoria.
The Requiem of 1605 is Victoria's final work. It's a simply magnificent statement of dignified and reverent spirituality.
Victoria's Requiem of 1605 is the greatest legacy of Victoria's output. For me, it's the finest requiem written by any Renaissance composer. It's beautiful setting of some very enlightening words.
I really hope you'll come join us next Friday at Holy Trinity, 7 p.m. for our All Souls service. It really will be beautiful and a deep way for us all to gather, remember, and celebrate the lives of all those we've lost. Come pray with us. I'll see you all there.